we talk about one of our episodes? We talked about time travel in some way, right?
Well, we watched The Time Machine.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Okay.
Forget.
I've completely forgot. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I can't help thinking, somewhere in the universe, there has to be something better than man. Has to be. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ascension To Ten.
Right.
Okay, we're back.
We're back
with a special.
This is a special. Yeah. What do we got going on this week, JAD?
This is our first of what we hope might be many listener specials.
That's right.
Here's the deal. We have 3 movies to review tonight, and each one was recommended by a listener. And so each movie review will be maybe a shorter review than when we normally do for one episode. But we have special guests in each case. And who do we have today?
That's right.
Who do we have for this first one?
Well, this first one is about Mars attacks, and it was recommended by our friend Derek. We call him Woot. Hey, Woot. How are you?
Hey, Spenny. Hey, Jad. As they mentioned, I go by Woot since they all have funny, clever nicknames. So do I. And so, not too crazy.
Perfect.
Yeah, Woot's a super clever name because his last name is Wooters.
Yeah.
So it's highbrow.
Yours is your initials. So let's not be throwing casting any stones here. Okay.
Mine just added a Y at the end. They just cut it halfway and just put a Y.
Yep.
So
that's right.
That's how it works.
Oh yeah.
But I was
gonna say, I know you guys. It's funny listening to the podcast. Like you guys mentioning 2 episodes ago. I want to say, not to date it. When you guys were talking about basketball camp and it mentioning.
Yeah.
Was that you?
And all the Brandon kids were probably laughing at us. I was like, that was probably totally was one of the Brandon kids.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
100% would have to be me. I mean,
Yep.
Valley wasn't even on my radar until you guys came over. You guys came over in 5th grade because, like Spenny, I peaked super early, and so I remember Spencer came over and it being like, "Yeah, dude," and they got this kid Spencer, and everyone was like, "Yeah, he's." And they're like, yeah, Woot will have to play against him in football because I think we played football with you guys, and it was just we all just thought,
right.
well, I'm glad the hillbillies could get out of a cow pasture, but it's fun. So hopefully this is more of an enlightened take on 8-10 here.
Yeah, that's for sure. I have a memory of when the Brandon kids came to Valley Springs because we did this visit each side. And when they came to Valley Springs, the first thing we did as the quote hillbillies is go out and play Kill the Carrier. So all the boys are running up and just tackle each other in the field.
Here's what I remember about that day when you guys came to Valley, to our turf. I don't know, you guys were filing into our classroom or something, and our teacher thought it'd be cute to give Austin Hanton a hard time because he didn't have his shoes tied or something, or they were tied loosely. And so she said, "You can't come in here until you tie your shoes properly." And he looked at her and she stepped on his toes or something to further block him. And they were so loose that he just slipped out of his shoes and walked right by her.
What do you got for that one?
I don't even remember. Honestly, I think she laughed because it was so unexpected for her because this is the same. Well, okay. Yeah, I won't tell that story. That might be a little bit incriminating. Cut. Well, I'll tell you guys. We can cut this out afterwards. But Spenny, do you remember John Lemster was raising such fucking hell in class one day that she turned around and just threw a piece of chalk at his head across the room, and it hit the back wall and shattered.
Shattered, and she goes,
"Yeah, this is the same teacher."
Covers her mouth.
That sounds like such classic Lemster. It's a real shyster.
Maybe what we'll do is we can have Bryan edit out the names and just do our little bleep noise. Okay.
Yeah, that works.
And we're back.
Back. Here we go.
Okay, Woot, so why? Okay, you recommended Mars Attacks! ! You want to tell us about
Can't forget
your
that
choice here?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a great tie-in. You guys just had birthday week last week with the Alien episode, and this movie was, my family could care less about ever having a birthday party. You guys are talking about, oh, my birthday party. Yeah, I think I had maybe 3 that I ever had friends at or anything like that, right? And so this was like one where it was me, Corey, and Drew. We all went to go see Mars Attacks in theater because it came out December 13th, and my birthday was like the next day. Yeah. And so it was at the old what was the old Western theater, but
Carmike?
the West Mall, but it was still
7.
the nice theater at the time, versus the cheap theater. And but I mean, classic movie theater seats back in the day, sticky floor, everything. And so you got to remember, we were 9 years old watching this, and there were these gummy bears stuck to the theater screen. And it was just the funniest thing for some 9-year-old boys, because these aliens are just shooting lasers the whole time left and right. We're like, those gummy bears, and they're just sticking through it. Because everything's just go pew 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 across the screen, and we just were like, oh man, yeah, they're not taking those guys down at all. So yeah, I just always recall that, and I mean, it's just, after rewatching it too, I mean, it's just a roller coaster ride. This movie is. I mean, it's. Buckle up.
That's for sure.
They're gonna take you where they want to go, and you're gonna have a good time.
That's for sure.
This movie came out the same year as Independence Day, so ironically, I mean, they're 2 kind of invasion movies, and so Tim Burton was the director on this, and this was just a quote I thought was funny. He's like, "Well, Independence Day was a different tone. It's different in everything, but it also seemed like we have done the kind of Mad Magazine version of Independence Day." I was like, yeah.
I mean, I think that nails it. Fun fact I looked up, because it made me think today. The Mars, we launched the Mars rover the week before. Mars Attacks.
Oh, we did?
So, I mean, great marketing. I mean, it didn't land for another 6 months or something like that, But I mean, great marketing for Mars Attacks. Get that. Oh, yeah, the public's interested in this. Let's get that nice Martian movie out there,
Well, there is a bit of maybe a nod to that, because when the aliens become apparent in the movie, they give an explanation for why they've never seen him before, right? Or something. And Pierce Brosnan, who's the scientist, is
they're in the canyons,
deep in the cavern.
Yeah.
That could be hundreds of miles deep.
Yeah. The other thing that I noticed, so I did the one bit of research that I did was that Pierce Brosnan is one of the many actors and actresses in this. Star-studded cast. It's pretty mind-boggling how all these actors ended up in this movie.
I wrote down the big hitters' names, so we can run them through when you're done.
But I knew this came out in the 90s, right? But Pierce Brosnan was looking fine, right, in his peak.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking,
yeah,
man, this is GoldenEye level Pierce. And I looked up.
The same year, isn't it?
A year. It came out a year after GoldenEye. So
okay.
Pierce
He's
does
at his
this
pinnacle.
Pierce does this baller James Bond GoldenEye, his best, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And next year he does Mars Attacks. And totally cool with it, I guess, because him and everyone else that were in it, right? Do you want to list off the list?
So Jack Nicholson is in it, Jack Black, Annette Bening, Danny DeVito, Pierce Brosnan, Natalie Portman, Glenn Close, Sarah Jessica Parker, Martin Short, Jim Brown, Tom Jones, Christina Applegate, Michael J. Fox, and Ron Howard's dad, Rance Howard, is in it too.
Yeah, Tom Jones is in it as himself, right?
Yeah, as himself.
Tom Jones
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it caps it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other fun tidbit that I saw is that so this whole like Mars Attacks is based off like the Topps trading card series, apparently, that was under the same name.
Well, yeah, I was curious about what the deal was.
They quotes it right at the beginning of this movie, and I was like, what?
Yeah, it's based off of some game thing, and I didn't look it up, but
no, that's as far as I got.
Yeah, no, I thought, another controversial take that, I know A2Ten's full of them. Brosnan, one of my favorite Bonds. Like, he just looks like a James Bond. I'm not saying his acting is phenomenal, but I think he is like, no one ever like mentions him. They go, yeah, he's a joke. Is like, he's like quintessential. Like, he seems like a proper British dude, like as a James Bond. Yeah. And so like to go from this button up, thing he did Mars Attack, and like if you see like the rest of his IMDb, it's just like a downward trend besides like his Bond appearances. So
I'm with you.
That's
Bond's Pierce is my favorite Bond, hands down.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was before. It was it was back when James Bond not necessarily did like hand-to-hand combat, but it was kind of like using all the gadgets and the driving, and some other stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
that made it really cool.
The last few that he did were terrible, right? But
he looks the part.
But yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, so I'm all about Pierce.
Okay, good. I'm glad to know I'm not the only crazy person, because everyone always lists like Sean Connery, etc. I go, but I like Pierce.
To be fair, in this movie on Mars Attacks, he was a little extra because he was smoking a pipe.
Every scene. Yeah. That's how you give a scientist some credit. You probably know that, Jad. In your labs, everyone probably just grabs a pipe. Grabs a pipe when you need to make a point.
Yep.
You see?
We should say, if it's not obvious at this point to anyone who hasn't seen Mars Attacks, that it's, I would say, at least equal parts, if not primarily, a comedy. Right? That we should make that apparent from the start. This is not a serious sci-fi movie. It's kind of, it's basically Spaceballs. But like you said, what you said, Spenny, is Mad TV or Mad comic book version of Independence Day.
Perfect version. Yeah.
Get that in your head right away.
Right. Cool. Yeah. Do you want me to do a quick synopsis, and we can talk about some of the specifics?
I love these things.
All right.
Actually, we should have assigned Woot to do this, but yeah, this is your baby.
We should have. Yeah. Well, next time I'll try to remember that. Earth is visited by aliens from Mars. The people of Earth try to connect with the aliens peacefully, but it does not turn out that way. Aliens begin to wreak havoc on the people of the planet, while the government tries to fight back. It's not until an unlikely hero and a Slim Whitman song that the aliens are defeated and peace is brought back to the planet Earth.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's funny. I totally didn't ever know that was Slim Whitman, but apparently he was like a big yodeler. And like he was like a late night TV, like those late night commercials. Like that's, I guess, how he like sold a bunch of his records, I guess. But like I heard it on the morning show I would listen to. Like at one time they were just playing this music. I go, and they're like, yeah, this is old Slim Whitman. I go, that's the Mars Attacks song.
To be honest, I thought that was Elvis or something, because it kind of is, it's that same
vibe,
kind of story. Yeah. Do you want to kick us off with the what happens here?
Sure.
The opening scene.
So it's 96. So you got to remember, there's like plenty of just throwaway lines that would never happen. Like they're just like, opening scene is just the stampede of cows on fire, and the farmer, first thing he says, what is it, Filipino New Year's? Like, just because there's something cooking, but they don't think too much of it, which is kind of interesting, and then the like Martian UFO, and it's interesting that the cows are on fire because everything else just gets vaporized, right? But so the cows are on fire to set the scene, and so like the UFO just sneaks out the back. No one saw it, as it joins this giant fleet, which is again, very misleading. It seems a lot closer to Earth considering how long it took them to get to Earth. I kind of like, I was watching it with subtitles on and stuff like the other day, and maybe it's like a minor typical day experience. Like Spencer's like, hey, go watch it on Tubi. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, and it was on my flight home. And so I watched like the first hour and I go, okay, well, let me like punch that up the next day. Was removed like when I went to it. So I was like, well, I guess
literally
like
the same thing that happened to me.
Yeah. So I thought that was funny. I mean, fine, whatever, but I just thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then we go to, so that happens. Then it's like this beautiful intro of just the Martian fleet ascending on it. I mean, these are classic UFOs, like anything that you imagine Roswell. I mean,
flying
they just
saucer,
fit the T.
right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, like to describe what type of UFO. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The cows thing, though, that was, and again, this isn't a movie about high special effects, but I feel like they could have at least tried slightly a little bit more for these cows, because it was an image, it was a video of cows running by, and then just some clip art flames that kind of just had to be cropped on top of the cows.
Well, Tim Burton, he wanted to make it like stop motion. Like he wanted to do a bunch of stop motion, and they're like, no, we're not doing that. You need to like, we're going to use CGI like for the first time with Tim Burton. So, but yeah.
Well, you got to start somewhere, I guess. Right.
Yeah. But I mean, like the next scene is the formation of all like the president's powerful people in the Oval Office. And it's just a cast of characters.
Just standard military cover up. Like they just go right into it too.
Yeah.
They're like, what kind of tropes can we play here?
Yep. And it's that it kind of just cuts to like the different characters kind of building it up, because like it moves to Jim Brown, who's dressed up as a king at a casino, who's some famous boxer or supposedly boxer.
Yeah, I mean, because remember he was in the Quaker in Jamaica, because again that's a nice nod to like instead of like the Thriller in Manila, right? They had to make sure. Oh yeah, you had that big fight, the Quaker in Jamaica. How do we stop this one? So they made sure to use some good jokes there.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah,
this is where you see Natalie Portman eating pizza too. Yeah, I think.
President's daughter. Yeah, it's a really hard movie to like really keep what's going on. I think there's about like 8 to 10 plot points going on. Like underneath the aliens are invading. It's like, well, here's like 50 people that you should like watch what happened.
Yeah. My favorite character is the grandma. There's a scene where like she's saying goodbye to her grandson, and she's like, "Bye-bye, Thomas," and he's like, "Grandma, it's Billy Glenn." And she's like, "I know, Thomas." Ha, ha, ha. It just cuts to the next scene. That just cracks me up every time. So funny. Oh, man.
But yeah, the first several minutes of it are just establishing the different characters.
Mm-hmm.
And then then the government realizes there's aliens coming, and they think, bro, are they just going to come and blow us up? And Pierce Brosnan, the lead scientist on the planet, says, "Nah, we're good. They're clearly peaceful.
They're clearly peaceful.
Peaceful and
so his exact line, because I loved it, was, "An advanced civilization is by definition not barbaric." Like that's just like, I mean, they've got fighter saucers. They couldn't be killing people. Like, I mean, it's bulletproof. And mind you, later on, he didn't have as many good lines. Like I started like collecting like great Pierce Brosnan lines, but he also goes, 2 and 2 equal 5 is entirely legitimate depending on what language you use. So I mean, like, just strong leanings on the scientific method here, and like everything's backed up when it comes out of his mouth.
That's awesome.
But
yeah, I mean, it all leads up to this like point where they're meeting in the desert, and it's like the aliens are meeting
can we
humans.
back up real quick just so I can give some more just fun things? I mean, I literally just was like going step by step on this bad book. So
go for it. Just go for it.
So Sarah Jessica Parker, she is in a relationship with Michael J. Fox in this. He works for GNN. Maybe it's the Global News Network instead of whatever CNN it stands for. And but she runs like the fashion show. And a nice little fun tidbit, the corporate guy, as he's spelled on IMDb, Willie Garson, you only see for a little bit. Might be their first intro before they make their Sex and the City debut together, because he ends up playing Stanford aside like her Carrie role.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like a nice little, just like, well, I see little like Hollywood dynamics going on there. And also
that's a nice tidbit.
Michael J. Fox, another great 96 line that I don't think would happen today. Like, there was no reason for this comment. He's talking to her. She goes, "Hey, we're going to be interrupted by the president." And he just goes, "Are you wearing a bra?" Like, then completely goes, "Well, that shouldn't happen." Like, no other innuendos. Like, that was his, like, I was glad that I had the subtitles on just so I could, like, did he just say that? Because, like, it made no sense. Like, he wasn't like, "Ooh, yeah, you look really good. Are you wearing a bra?" It was just first line out of his mouth. I was like, okay, cool. MJF.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Yep.
And then we also see her Chihuahua, which, I mean, huge star later on in the movie. So
Big
yeah,
plot
for sure.
points
That's
later.
iconic.
yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, then they kind of set up something. President makes an address that was kind of boring. And yeah, that's more of the intros. And then fun fact about where they meet, Nevada, Pahrump.
Yeah.
So
Been there.
have you been? Okay, that was like a fun little, like, there's the Corvette training schools in Pahrump, Nevada. And so
Yeah.
that definitely made me go, well, I bet you Spenny might
That's why I went there.
have a couple of thoughts. Or
There's other things there in Power as well, but
Oh, okay.
I didn't go to those.
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought that was like a nice little fun little tidbit. You kind of glance over a major part, Jad, when you mentioned like they're introducing all like the minor characters, because like you forgot about that Richie, one of the there's like this Kansas hillbilly family.
Yeah.
He works at the donut shop, and like every scene he's in, he will let you know he works at the donut shop, and he can get you a sweet hookup.
Yeah, his family is all about. His parents are all about his brother, who's this
That's
military nut, Jack Black, a trim Jack Black. He was looking good in that movie.
Yeah, he was.
And the only
Before
thing
he started doing
this
Tenacious
buddy
D.
character or this character cares about is his donuts and the grandma. So he has his priorities set straight for this movie.
Hey mom, I got you some donuts. How old are they? 6 days. They were fresh 6 days ago. What? And then she's like, I'll take it.
All
right.
Okay, so yeah, the first turning point in the movie is the government schedules first contact, right? And it's out in this desert, and this ambassador from Mars is coming because another scientist figured out this translator thing, and so they schedule a time. They're going to meet. The major general is going to be out there and shake his hand, and the Mars ambassador is going to come and, spread peace and love and super awesome technology and stuff. And so my favorite scene in the movie is the aliens arrive. They do their handshake. There's translating going on. We come in peace. We come in peace. We come in peace.
By you, they came up with it in a day. Like, the Martians only talk with, and they only say ack, and like they were like, yeah, we know exactly what that is. We got this dialed in.
Yeah,
and it always works out. Like I'm sure these translations are bulletproof, as you'll find out later in the movie, because like it always went our favor.
And so there's the aliens say, we come in peace, and so then there's this I guess hippie type guy that's in the crowd because there's civilian population there, and I can't remember what he says now, but it's just really funny. He says they come in peace, and he releases a dove, and the dove is a sign of war, I guess, to them, and it probably isn't even really a sign of war, because they were going to come and steamroll the planet no matter what. And so they just use it as an excuse.
They were very skeptical of birds, because when they see that bird in the White House, like they definitely were like,
he domes that bird for no reason. He just but then so the dove is flying over, and it's this brilliant sign of peace and prosperity, a new age for humanity and Earth and the solar system. And homie pulls out a ray gun and blasts it, and then starts laying waste,
toy laser gun,
laying waste.
It literally
into the
looks
crowd,
like a toy,
and that starts the war.
How about
they
made a point to promote that general for that like visit?
yeah.
Of course, it's the black general. Like that gets vaporized right away. It was like, that's the 90s.
And he says that on the way to on his car ride out to the desert location, he gets a call from his wife, and he says, "No, honey, you know what? I was always telling you that I just have to put my head down and keep working, and this is going to work out for us. And you know what? I was made head general ambassador to the Martians, and it finally worked out for us, baby. This is our time." And he gets blasted first thing. So war starts. All the other Martians descend because the whole fleet's parked outside of Earth.
Yep.
They
Just waiting for
descend,
the
start
sign.
destroying every single major city. They take a few prisoners. They take Sarah Jessica Parker and Pierce Brosnan and
her dog,
and they do some alien experiments by they take her head and put it on the Chihuahua, and put the Chihuahua head on her body, and then they just take off Pierce Brosnan's head. But he's just chilling, he's like,
and like the Martian is looking at a Playboy, mind you, like when that's all going on. He's like, oh yeah, let me check out what Earth's fine.
Yeah. There's also a scene where Pierce Brosnan's talking to Sarah Jessica Parker with the dog, and you look in the background, and there's just like this creepy clown that they've obviously captured from Earth.
Totally missed that.
Sitting back there like this.
I noticed the giant vat for the cow. That was kind of funny from earlier, but I missed all the other stuff.
So, I mean, that's the first thing. Like, what do you think of the effects? I mean, like, mind you, it's 96. CGI is really not a big thing. I mean, I kind of thought they were at least as good as, like, Sci-Fi Channel effects of, like, the 2000s, for, like, the imposed lasers. It didn't seem horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't. I didn't think it was too bad.
Well, I thought they were great. I mean,
good.
what made it so funny is how bad the cows looked in the opening scene, right? Mm-hmm. And then how just cool the lasers looked, because all these ray guns would basically dissolve all the flesh off of a body and then leave the skeleton.
Colored by the color of the ray too. Like if
so it was either a red or a green ray.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so I thought it was totally fine for the time and for the movie too, because it's not like they're going to spend a bunch of money trying to make this comedy movie look convincing. Although they did spend a lot of money trying to make this comedy movie convincing, because they had all these actors, right? And they had this ridiculous.
Well, do you think that's why Jack Black and Michael J. Fox died so early on? Like they couldn't
maybe
they're like, yeah, we'll use him for a little bit. And also Jack Nicholson, he plays two roles because he's like that like seedy like casino guy and the
I thought that was him. Okay, yeah. I didn't check, but
Well, that's a good point on the budget of the movie. It was $80 million for production, and then they spent about $20 million in marketing. So it's about $100 million. And then the box office, it basically was a flop because it broke even at $101 million.
Hey, they didn't lose money.
But I mean, in today's numbers, that's a $183 million budget, and then making 185-ish. So not not good in return.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of
how it works.
Perhaps a niche audience that would appreciate it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. So the dog attached to the lady's body, that's a classic one.
Sorry, like, did you? 9-year-old me at the time, like, I thought like that was like, ooh, Sarah Jessica Parker, she's kind of a babe, and like, so like I thought that was a babe scene, and also we forget that Jack Black as a hillbilly, he's got Applegate is his like girlfriend, and like smoke show.
She had no lines, right? She had no lines.
No,
she was
her
just
only
there.
line was to make out with him.
Yep. And for most of those scenes, you couldn't even see her face. You only saw her face in the last moment when the bus drove away.
And she was already big from Blossom.
Yeah, and she's in the opening credits too, right? Her name,
or not
very
Blossom,
apparent,
Married with Children. So.
Yeah. Well, then and then there's a scene now where the aliens are trying to like infiltrate the government, where Martin Short picks up the alien lady, where she's like running looks like she's like cross country skiing as she walks.
Yeah, she's just kind of like levitating. Yeah,
she's like levitating. And that this is a scene I remember as from a kid, is like he's trying to make moves on her and she keeps chewing gum, and then he tries to take her gum out and she bites it, and then he like rips off her face, and then you see that the alien is like piece of the alien, his mouth is on there. I just remember how creepy that was.
And then the finger goes into the fish tank, which is in the John F. Kennedy room. You know, that's a funny joke right there, right? So no.
Spenny, you got to play
we don't talk about hot Kennedy philandering speculation. Okay,
it's allegedly.
Yeah,
Spenny should play that the rim tap sound effect, but it.
We'll have Bryan add that. Yeah. We saved it.
And so like all that also was Washington was running business as usual, right? This was after they annihilated everybody in Pahrump. They were like, hey, aliens, sorry about that. Like, let's try this again. We'll talk to Congress. They vaporized Congress the next day.
Yeah, they did.
Just laid waste, like no nothing. And like, the White House then has this thing.
And all the other cities.
School trip the next day.
Yeah. All the other cities are just getting destroyed. And there's just a tour. There's a White House tour as if nothing's happening.
Just didn't want to alarm anybody, you know?
Yeah. And there was a couple funny scenes or a couple funny lines too, where at one point Natalie Portman was trying to, because she's lives at the White House, right? She's the president's daughter. She tries to get to her room or something, basically. And security guy says, I'm sorry, miss, you can't come in here. There's a White House tour. We don't like to interrupt them. And then later, it's almost kind of like a Naked Gun style joke where the actual battle is happening at the White House and there's a tour still going on.
Right.
And the president, the president is trying to flee, right? They're trying to escort the president to their bunker. And the guy says, sorry, Mr. President, you can't come through here. We have a tour going on. And so eventually the donut kid and his grandma figure out how to fight back against the aliens. And it's to play this music, this yodeling music, by Slim Pickens, or who did you say that was? Slim Whitman.
Pickens.
It basically just makes their heads explode.
Yeah.
As it
this
should.
Is also the
else,
funny.
Probably.
As this, like, all the aliens are running around just killing everybody with their laser guns. They have that digitized voice that's like, "Don't run. Yeah, we are your friends."
Yeah, because he has the translator, right?
Yeah, the aliens are hilarious, right? Like, I mean, so they do that. Before they are about to try to kill the grandma, before like they knock off her headphones to expose that Slim Whitman is their one weakness, they're like sneaking up on her and going like, dude, this is gonna be hilarious, right? Like they just
and they have this gigantic laser cannon pointed right at her head. It's right next to her head.
Vape guns were good for everybody else, but grandma's getting the special treatment for sure.
Check this out.
And like once after they vaped Congress or like all that stuff, like once they like went for the president, then they were just like all out war on the whole world, right? So they're showing like them in France and like the French president. Mind you, if you saw them vaporize everyone. No, we worked out this cool deal as he gets vaped. Like they go to the Taj Mahal. These aliens are taking like tourist photos in front of it as they like annihilate it. You know,
they do a bowling ball on Easter Island to knock over all the statues.
Yeah,
they're just having a good old time.
Carve themselves in Mount Rushmore.
Oh, yep, that's classic. So then they
there was
what
they did that thing where they shrank the general too. I thought that was really funny. It was like his top general who just kept fighting or like yelling at them and turned into like a ant size, and then they just stomp on him.
Yep.
And that's also when the president gives that grand speech trying to like convince him.
But that was after they infiltrated his giant bunker too. Like, like this is like, who knows where this bunker is, right? And the aliens are like, we got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it like he gets stabbed by like it's basically like a face hugger kind of thing, like an electronic digital thing, and it stabs him in the chest, and then
it's a flagpole essentially.
So how I described that scene was Jack Nicholson gives an inspired speech for peace and to the Martian leader. They tear up. The Martian leader tears up and goes to shake his hand. And then just great practical joke. As I said, the aliens are hilarious, right? It's a fake hand that then turns into, walks up behind it and pierces right through it and like raises the Martian flag. Yeah. And the Martians give the symbol of the donut, as Richie would say, aka anything round and circular, usually like Earth or something in this situation. But I mean, the donut for Richie.
Oh, man. So, and then the movie follows... Throughout all the action scenes, it follows all of the different character subgroups throughout their own personal battles and escape plans and whatnot. And eventually they take over they win the day by playing all the Slim Pickens and all the aliens are dead.
Slim Pickens.
And then Natalie Portman gives the Donut Kid a medal. The Medal of Honor, and his grandma Medal of Honor.
It's a mariachi band playing the Star Spangled Banner. At the end.
Yeah, as Richie suggests, like, you know, the only thing I can think of is like maybe we should all just live in teepees.
Live in teepees.
Because he gets the medal and he says, "Can I say something?" And I think we should live in teepees. So well, maybe it's time for the Ascension to 10 element of the show. You want to kick us off, Woot, with the score?
Sure. So like my thoughts on this was, as I like said in the intro, like, I mean, it's a roller coaster ride. Like they don't like derail you. They're just like, here's what you're going to do. You're just going to see like, you're going to meet some aliens. They're going to like wreck some stuff. People are going to win at the end of the day. And like, they just jump all over the place. Like there's a plot line in quotes, like somewhere there, but like, it was really just see some aliens shooting some lasers. So, I mean, I thought it was great. You could probably watch it at like twice the speed and get the whole like movie in, and you'd probably get like just as much like the fun from it. I think, you know, as I mentioned, I think visually it like held up. Like, I mean, it was just like same as like watching like a good like bad comedy that was written even in the 2000s, where you go, this plot really sucks. Like after you like step away from it from 10 years. So like, you know, you guys might think I'm kind of pandering with this rating.
Bro, but Spenny gave Fifth Element a 5.9, so whatever you're gonna say here is totally fine.
I know, but I'm probably just like give it a 6.9 because like, I mean, I feel like it's like worth.
Oh my!
I think it's worth watching, and it was like very enjoyable. Like, you know, you don't have to pay attention to it, and at any point in the movie, you'll totally know what's going on, and you're just gonna laugh. Like, you don't take it too serious.
That's a great point.
That's fair.
You could be completely checked out and still know what's happening.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's like the first 30 minutes I thought were super funny, but then it kind of just like it kept dragging on. And the second half is just total chaos. I mean, the last part is funny.
Yeah.
But that was, I was like this, like if I go to watch the first half, which the funny part is when I had Tubi, I watched the first half and I was like, oh, this is funny. This is way better than I remember. And then I watched the second half and I'm like, this is the worst.
And that's my big thing too, is it kept getting to the point where I thought, how much longer is there of this movie? I mean, what more can they do? Right? Let's just resolve this.
Yeah.
So it was a bit long. It was under 2 hours, wasn't it? And it still felt too long.
147, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. It wasn't a long movie. As I would quote someone, I would say it was aight. But I wouldn't go out seeking to watch it too often. I don't know if this movie was on, I would sit there and watch it again. But I gave it a 4.6.
That's fair. As I said, like, I mean, I think it's a background. Like, it's kind of like, you know, you put baseball like on the background.
Had enough funny elements into it. Yeah, that's fair.
You know, like it'd be like something you go, I'm going to clean the house today. It's on. I'll leave this channel on. Like I might giggle.
Yep.
Yeah, like laugh channel.
The tough critic. What's up?
Yeah, I gave it a 4.
Wow, that's a lot higher than.
Which interestingly, I gave John Carter a 4. I would totally watch this before watching John Carter again. So perhaps, yeah.
I
so
love the fact that you
4.
have to now.
Could you give it a 4.1 maybe?
You keep having to go back to justify your scores now.
I'm just trying to remind the audience of where we are at.
No, I know, but then
Sure.
do you think it's a 4.1 if you would pick this over John Carter?
Yeah, this is a strong 4.
Okay.
Yep.
Still not going to lose that 4.
Let's say this is a 4 rounded down. John Carter was a 4 rounded up. So there we go.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
Okay, that was Mars Attacks. Thanks for joining us, Woot. That was very insightful analysis.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I love the work. First time joining the podcast. Long time listener. Been listening to every one of them.
Thanks, Woot.
And do you have any recommendations for another one that we should try at some point?
I don't watch enough sci-fi. Like the only thing that kind of comes to my mind because I haven't watched it, but like there's this movie called it's like The Revenge of the. Shoot, now I can't even think of it. I was thinking of it the other day. Like, there's like these aliens that infiltrate, and they like the body revenge, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That's what it's called. And so, like, yeah, like they're like these plants that like eat people, and they like leave a clone or something like that. Like, whoa. I don't know. It's kind of like a '60s sci-fi. Okay, so like kind of like more on the aged side, but I think it's like maybe some people would consider it a classic, but it could be a funny one to watch.
Okay.
Well, if you find it, let us know what the exact name of it is.
I'm pretty sure it's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but I will.
Okay.
I'll email the boys at ascensionto10.com.
Sweet.
There you go.
That's how you get us.
That's right.
You can also follow us on our socials at Ascension #2 TEN on Insta and Twitter. And I think we'll add some more here in the next few weeks. Stay tuned. All right. Okay, so what are we talking about today? We have Taylor on. Taylor was one of the folks that gave us a recommendation for a movie, and he gave us Chaos Walking, which is starring Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley. Right?
Yeah. It sounds more ominous than it actually was.
Well, it was interesting because this is a book series. I didn't know that. So it's based off a book adaptation. And the first book is called The Knife of Never Letting Go. So
The Knife of Never Letting Go?
Yeah, The Knife of Never Letting Go.
Wow.
That's what it was called.
How many books are in the series?
Oh, you would ask me that. I don't know. 4 or 5.
I can look it up too.
Well, Spenny is the resident researcher here for
Factoid.
This stuff, so
yeah,
it's kind of his job.
I'm the one that does the book reports.
That's right. So, Taylor, do you want to tell us a little bit about, I guess, how you found this movie, or what encouraged you to suggest it?
Yeah, similar to other straight to streaming movies during the pandemic, this was one of them. Right. It was a Hulu original, and it seemed interesting when they were playing the trailer, where you'd see it on YouTube or wherever. Yeah. And the concept is also interesting, where only men, you can actually see their thoughts and hear them.
Yeah.
But then when I watched it, didn't live up to the hype.
Yeah. Very cool design and very cool idea. Conception.
Yeah. No, totally.
May have fallen a bit short in execution.
Yeah. Yeah.
That being said, though, the visuals were great. I thought the visual execution of what you're describing, how the men have their thoughts on display and on auditory display for everyone to hear at all times. That was done really well. I really liked how that was executed. What I didn't like, and this is my biggest criticism of the movie, and while I was watching it, I texted Spenny. I was just complaining about it immediately because I couldn't
Which he doesn't usually reach out to me on anything. But
I couldn't hear anything they were saying. And
because
it was like,
well, it's in their mind. That's why.
And that was the whole movie. So I had to watch it on subtitles because I literally couldn't hear what they were saying.
I think that was mostly because like Tom Holland's character, like he talks so fast when he is in his noise, where like it's like he's like he just keeps saying the same thing over and over, and he like talking so fast that's what it kind of sounded like you couldn't understand. I had to have subtitles on to kind of make sure I kept up.
Todd Hewitt.
Yeah, I'm Todd Hewitt.
Yeah.
I'm Todd Hewitt. I'm Todd Hewitt. I'm Todd Hewitt.
Yeah.
Yeah. You never forget who he is.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we should give a little setup here for the movie. It's Earth in the future, or it's humans in the future, sometime in the future. And
do you want synopsis?
oh yes, please, Spenny. My bad.
I
Thank
wrote
you.
one.
Thank you. Yes,
Please. That's one of my jobs here.
Please.
So let's
Please, the floor is yours.
Do this for you. All right, let's see if this one works. It's the year 2257 AD, and humans colonize the New World, where all men are afflicted with a condition called the noise, which causes everyone to see and hear their thoughts. Colonists were involved in a bitter war with the native humanoids called the Spackle. The war killed off the female colonists while half the men survived. A search group from the second wave of human arrives to check on the colonies, only to crash land where there's one female survivor, Viola. Todd Hewitt discovers the girl and must work with her to find out what really happened to the women and save the fate of the humans in the New World.
Nice.
There it is.
Nice.
Yeah. It's like 235 years in the future.
Yeah. And they were talking,
something like that.
and one of the things they talked about was what took like 65 years to get to the New World from Earth.
Yeah.
That was kind of interesting. So
they mentioned that at the end, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that was one criticism I had is they kind of Tarantino it in a way, but really bad. They start at the end and have you fill in all the pieces later.
Yeah, yeah, like it was just like it starts off and it's just really chaotic and you really can't understand what's happening. Just everyone's walking around talking in their heads and you're like, what is happening? And then a Jonas brother shows up and it was just like, what?
Yeah. I put that as something that I didn't like about this movie is Nick Jonas being the dumb, tough enforcer, and he just does it in a bad way.
Oh, yeah.
The writing didn't help.
But that's for sure. But yeah, he doesn't come off as like kind of the tough guy. You're thinking of a Jonas brother up there, at School of Rock or whatever band. What's that one called? Camp Rock. Rock of Camp or Camp
Rock.
Some Disney special. but yeah, let's see. Let's think about, were there any specific characters that you like, Taylor? Or is there anything like scenes or anything that you kind of were digging? I know we've talked about kind of the visuals, but anything else?
Yeah. I again, yes, I did like the visuals. I did like how later on the visuals get more defined and finite and used as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see in the start when Tom Holland is like snake, and then boom, out pops a big snake to then scare Nick Jonas's horse.
Yeah. That was
I liked. Cool. Yeah, it was the relationship between Tom and Daisy. And how that develops. Like he's never seen a girl before. And like this teenage adolescent, like always thinking about kissing the girl.
Yeah.
Like that pops up so many times. I like makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad
that was good.
I was glad as a teenager, I didn't have that kind of just popping up. That'd be very unfortunate as a teenage boy. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But
that was about it.
So yeah, Taylor, I really liked the bit that you mentioned about how the visual aspect of their what they're thinking was used as a kind of a plot point later in the movie. And so the noise that Spenny mentioned, that's just what they call the fact that the constant stream of consciousness that's happening with all of the men, and how it visually it's represented as this kind of colorful cloud that's around them. And it gives them an additional kind of visual presence that everyone can see. But then there's also specific thoughts and or memories can be manifested in this light show that happens. And at the end of the movie, it's used as a kind of a diversion tactic or something, or it's a powerful illusion to convince other people what it might be real, or to convince them that maybe a character is standing around the corner or standing in front of them or behind them. And I thought that was really cool. But what I thought was a bit strange is that it just comes out of nowhere. This cult leader for this men cult, which is kind of the main antagonist group of the show.
The mayor.
This guy has pretty much brainwashed this whole colony, and through the use of his noise, essentially, it's very convincing to the other men. And he's so good at it that he can make his thoughts not apparent to everyone else. So no one knows really what he's thinking, because he's mastered this so well he's mastered it so well to hide it, but he's also mastered it so well that he can create these visual illusions that are very real. But the weird thing is that it just comes out of nowhere. Like there's no, it's just, oh, okay, that can happen too, but the movie's going to end in 3 minutes kind of thing.
Well, I think we talked about that at the beginning, but it's like, there's a lot of elements where you wish you had more kind of backstory, because otherwise it's like, like how did he get that? Like everyone is the same when they get on this planet, but how did he evolve to be the, superstar or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah. And it gets it.
And Todd seemed to be,
go for it.
Well, Todd seemed to be at the center of a lot, and then it wasn't explained as to why. Like he was vitally important, and that was all you did.
He seems to be this. I think one of the important things for his character was that he was the last kid born. He was the youngest person. So he was the last person to be born in this colony before all the women were killed. But early parts of the movie do suggest that he's some kind of chosen one, right? Or has some abilities that he has yet to unlock, when really, in reality, throughout the whole movie, he struggles with controlling his noise the most out of everyone. At the end, he does do this miraculous, he unlocks this like a bit of illusionary mastery to fool the mayor at the same trick that he does, right? It's just the same exact trick. But the mayor falls for it, I guess, and then literally falls because he falls into a spaceship or something. But yeah, and maybe it makes sense. Spenny, now that you mentioned it was based on a book series, because of course it can't just be an original thing, right? But it makes me wonder if all of this was fleshed out in the books, and then this just is kind of a nod, right, to the readers that might.
Well, I mean, I think this is an After Earth effect, right? So After Earth, we discussed it might have been, they were talking about kind of linking it to another movie. So, well,
there was the ceiling was so high.
Enough unknown.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. The ceiling was so high for this, and where it could have gone. But the ending was just kind of crammed full with all the cool stuff, and then the movie was done.
Yeah.
Well,
like all of the pseudo answers came at the very end.
Yeah.
Like 10 to 15 minutes.
I'd say one of the cool scenes I thought was so when the second team is the space shuttle gets to the new world, and they drop the pod down to kind of like do the first discovery or see how people are doing down there. and kind of just the chaos of like all of a sudden that guy has the noise and he's freaking out, and it's just everything's going right. I thought that was really like, it gave you that intense feeling, and like the first time of like the person like first time like knowing the noise and like freaking out, and I was like, it was like really intense. I thought that was really cool.
So it made me wonder though,
after that,
is the reason that space pod crashed because all of the men freaked out and affected the landing of it? Because all of a sudden they're like, oh, let's go, boys. We're gonna get to that planet. We mysteriously lost contact with this colony 80 years ago, and we have no explanation why. But let's freaking go. We're gonna go and get some answers and have this new life. And then they're all dead. The ship's crashing, and there's no explanation for it other than, I guess, maybe all the pilots freaked out. But,
yeah.
Well, and like the heat shielding turns into magma.
Yeah.
And like Daisy's character unbuckles herself, which apparently means she lives.
She's just holding on to the.
She crashes from space with no seatbelt, and she's fine, right? Yeah. I thought I had missed something, but
yeah. And then how did none of those guys in that colony, how did none of them hear it entering the atmosphere?
Yeah. Gigantic fireball
their noise
coming through.
It's because their noise is so loud while they're sleeping. It's like white noise,
right.
So they just didn't hear it.
That's right. So let me ask you guys, would you feel comfortable with your thoughts on display?
No.
Right? Okay, yeah. I mean, it's
nobody.
Yeah, it's the one bit of privacy that everyone, unless you are struggling with some, inner demons or some mental faculties, right? Your own inner voice is the one thing that you have control over in terms of keeping it to yourself.
Right.
And I think it's a really cool plot device to have, to think about how a colony of people, not just one person, right? If one person obviously is at a huge disadvantage, if people can read their thoughts, but to equalize that playing field, but then just expect any society to continue with everyone having their thoughts on display. Which I think is why characters like the mayor can make sense, right? Because all it takes is one person to have mastery over that, that can be very manipulative in controlling other people and convincing them, for example, like in this movie, that all of the women who don't have this issue are threats to them. And so let's kill them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the other thing that I wish that was left unsaid that you never learn anything more about is the spackle people. Like was there really a war, or was it just that the mayor was killing everybody?
Yeah.
Like, what is the spackle? What do they do? Because they looked like the things from Signs, and then
they encounter that one who has an arm cut off.
Yeah.
And it's like this super intense fight. And then all of a sudden, it's over. Like they just walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that was I don't know.
That was a criticism I had from the trailer to the movie, is they seem to play up that interaction between the alien race and the human race. And then like, that was it. Like 2 minutes.
Yeah. It's so, we've kind of talked over a lot of this kind of introductory plot points, but basically in this colony, so from the point of view of the main character, I've already forgotten his name, Todd Margaret or something.
Todd
Margaret. His world exists. What he knows of this world, this planet, is that he lives in this colony with some humans that descended from Earth. And as far as he's concerned and aware, there are 0 other humans on the planet. There is this other species on the planet. And there was a war at one point, and these other species, the spackle, killed all of the women and only the women. But as it turns out, the mayor of this particular colony convinced all the other men to kill the women because of their because of what he perceived as an advantage, an unfair advantage that the women had, that their thoughts aren't on display. And there are, in fact, other colonies of humans that just work together. They've worked it out with the men and the women that, no, it's fine. You know, we don't have to kill all the women. And so this ever-present threat in the beginning of the movie of this alien species, like Taylor said, is over in 2 minutes once he realizes that, we're good, kind of thing.
They're just
there. And then they're
just hunters and gatherers, and they don't want to cause any issues. They want their things and leave them alone.
Ostensibly, it's their planet, right? Because they don't appear to have any kind of technology. So it's just they were there. The humans arrived, and then I don't know. Maybe they fought at some point. Maybe not. Who knows? Doesn't matter, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nope. I want to know what animal did the pelts come from for the mayor's pimp jacket?
Well, in one of my notes, one of my first notes for this movie, it was how do they get the horses there? Right? What do they?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. There's tons of horses,
and then at the end, there's like gigantic cryo chambers, and then Lillian or whatever her name was said, "Yeah, that's for horses. That's how they got them here." And it's okay.
It was such a throwaway.
I guess they have horses. So this advanced interstellar human civilization had the foresight to bring horses to other planets. Who knows if the horses could digest any of the food there?
Vegetation.
Right? Yeah.
Why not just bring hovercrafts or something? You know, so we need horses. We have to figure out how to cryogenically preserve horses within stasis. We're gonna put R&D into this. It's going to be worth it. so the big fur jacket that he is wearing, I guess, is my thought was that it's just whatever animals they also tried to freeze and bring over, and that just didn't work out. They didn't have the R&D.
Make a pelt.
So it's some yak or something that it didn't work out. They couldn't digest the plants.
Horses were literally the only thing, and a dog.
Yeah, and the dog.
Is there one dog? Yeah. I didn't remember. Was there any other?
No, there's one at Farber.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right, I have to knock this movie down because they needlessly kill the dog in a very dramatic confrontation scene.
Intense.
It was very sad. And so I watched this movie, and then I watched Mars Attacks right after. It was on a Saturday, and they also killed the dog in that movie. And
jeez,
had a bad time with these two dog death movies back to back. That was very sad because that dog was awesome, and then
it was like super emotional and intense. Like that priest was crazy.
Yeah,
man, he was.
You see it right off the bat. Like his noise was fire.
Yeah. He was the only one that like turned fire. That was really
And what that kind of looked like to me is that his inner voice basically just consumed him. Right? It became so apparent to him, anyways, in like a very real sense. Because I think most people, you can tune out what your own head is saying, right? You tell yourself, no, don't think that way, or whatever. You talk to yourself, you talk yourself down from, feeling stressed or sad or whatever. But for this guy, his inner voice just took control, and it made him insane. And the visualization of that was so cool because his noise looked way different. It looked like fire.
It was like black with smoke. Yeah. And then like these bursts of flame throughout.
Yeah, he was a very intense character. And then at the end he was like, kill me.
Yeah, and I think that was his real voice, right? It wasn't his noise. It was him saying, kill me.
Yeah.
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 He kept trying to kill Daisy's character. And then at the very end, like more and more you start hearing him say martyr, martyr, martyr. And I don't know if that was him or his noise. Mm-hmm. But then in the very, very end, he's like, kill me. And then again, he repeats martyr, martyr, martyr.
Yep.
Okay, I have to be honest. The more we talk about this, the more I actually like the movie. Because my opinion of it was actually kind of not very great coming into this, and then now I'm thinking, oh no, wait, this is maybe better.
But like, they don't explain how the initial crew crashed.
Yep.
Like what caused that. Then Todd makes the stupid teenage boy decision of like, oh yeah, I can go risk my life and climb way, way, way up there to connect the satellite.
Yeah, he climbed it in about 3 minutes, right? This 20-story spaceship, right, with no handholds. He just kind of just casually.
It's too far.
And it was just
they're too close, and it's too far to get to the main settlement. So let's go in here and do this giant climb that's extremely dangerous instead.
And like he knows anything about antennas. They go through the innards of this derelict ship that had been crashed decades ago, right? And she just strolls through these corridors and says, "Oh, yeah, right there. The radio's right there. I just gotta, like every other crash movie or spaceship crashing, she tears apart random panels to find the one thing that she wants to find, right? It's just the radio in the middle of a hallway, this interstellar radio that's just in a hallway in the spaceship, right? And she accesses this panel, types in, codes and stuff, and sure enough, there's power. And the one thing that's wrong,
that was the big thing.
One thing that's wrong is the antenna got snapped off, and she just kind of
unplugged.
She just kind of casually turns her head, and she says, no, I mean, we
right there.
Came all this way for nothing because the antenna snapped off." Turns her head slightly, and the camera pans out, right? But she turns her head slightly, and then Tom Bombadil or whatever his name says, "Oh, I can fix that." Like he's ever seen an antenna, a spaceship antenna, right? And then we learned 20 minutes before that he hasn't been taught to read because there aren't any books. He's a farmer, right? He's a farmer. He farms beets or something. I don't know. And yeah. So then then of course the solution is he climbs 38 stories and is dangling by a fingertip off of this flagpole thing. And then he just kind of plugs in the USB cord, and then it's instant interstellar radio. And so minor
I think
yeah,
go ahead, Taylor.
That was the bow on top, right? Like that seals it, and we're all done.
Because
and to tell Jad, the reason you keep falling in love with this because we keep talking about visual things.
That's true.
And it's the substance of it is like, I don't know, the kind of the what's the word? I'm totally just blanking right now. Just the way the interactions between the people and just kind of how the script was written.
Yep.
Like there wasn't a lot of substance to it.
Nope.
And I think that's the issue. They tried to make up for it with like the visuals. And they did a good job. I think we've all agreed on that. But it was just this like, I don't know, half-assed like adventure from one place to another.
I feel like there were 4 or 5 storylines that were all incomplete.
Yeah.
What makes me curious about is I feel like they would have been more successful by making this a limited run show, right? Give it a 5 or 6 episode show rather than a one deal movie. And because it's for these streaming platforms, just make a show, right? Just greenlight a show. And I think had they had the time to flesh it out, it would have been, a lot better. But this really is.
Well, if you could have.
This really is an After Earth effect.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you could spend if you did it a series and you spent 5 to 10 minutes kind of talking like a backstory, just with a voiceover talking about why they're there, I think it would have you could have picked up and started running. And instead it was, you waited 2 hours to find out something at the end. And you're like, that doesn't make sense.
It was only an hour and 40.
Okay. Hour 40. All right. There's ads,
but it could have been like a Children of Dune sort of thing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, this is a total,
because that wasn't very many
Yeah.
episodes.
this is a total After Earth effect. Super high ceiling for what they could have done.
Yeah.
Looked great. But yeah, not enough was spent. Not enough time was spent on what was the more interesting aspect, right? Because like in After Earth, there was the other alien race that made those Ursa things. And then it's just, that's the interesting thing, right? Here, how'd they get here? Why are there other aliens that they don't care about? You know, that's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not. You two talking about After Earth made me interested in it, but not enough to go back and rewatch it.
No, well, good. We did our jobs then. Because
that's our goal.
Yeah.
Because I think I've watched that once or twice, and I'm like, this is just weird and dumb.
Hopefully, you never had to watch Battlefield Earth.
No, I watched that.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Oof.
I think it was on TNT.
That is classic TNT. Yep. That's exactly what I would expect. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like flipping through board on like a Thursday night or something like that.
Yep.
And there it is.
Well, is it score time? Do you want to give us a score, Taylor?
Sure. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, after talking about it, it went down.
Okay. So maybe we may have met in the middle then.
Yeah.
Maybe. I had originally put 2.4, but now it's down to like a 1.8 because of the storyline.
That's terrible, man.
All right, I'm just trying to compare here. So Spenny gave After Earth a 1.69. That's kind of the closest thing, and he gave Corolla 2. So on Spenny's scale, that's kind of where Chaos Walking lands for you. What about you, Spenny?
I get a 1.9.
Oof. 1.9.
It was on that level. It was a little bit better than After Earth, so I'll give them that because I think there was some better visuals on it.
Yeah.
Though JAD was obsessed with the set design.
Yep.
I think it was easier to follow the thread here versus After Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like yes, it was pieced together storylines that weren't all finished, but you could at least kind of figure out what they were. Whereas After Earth, it just fell apart. And
Yeah. It really did.
Well,
but for you, JAD.
So I gave it the exact same score that I gave After Earth for the same reasons, which is a 3.
3?
Yep.
Is this a hard 3 or a soft 3?
This is
where are we at
This
nowadays?
is an After Earth 3.
God.
So I gave Fifth Element a 3. So this, I enjoyed this more than Fifth Element, I have to say. So this is a hard 3.
Wow. Okay.
I fucking hate Fifth Element, man. I don't know what to say. That fucking movie sucks.
I don't know why. I don't know why you.
Fifth Element's great.
I love Fifth Element.
Okay,
I don't
do you
know
want to
why
give
you
a
hate
Fifth
that
Element a score? I'll put it on our ledger, Taylor.
Ooh.
Oh, now the pressure's on.
It's been a minute.
So Spenny gave it a 5.9, and he says he loves that movie. So
I definitely liked it better than Bright because it
by 0.1 gave Bright a 5.8.
Maybe 5.4.
5.4 for what's going on the ledger
for Fifth Element.
He gets 2 of them now.
Here's the thing. So for me, for movies, I can forgive a lot of things in a movie if the visuals are on point. Movies for me start with dialogue and what the plot is. And so if dialogue sucks, it can be saved, in my opinion, for enjoyment if it's going to look good, because it might as well look good, right? So if they can master,
well, it was the defense of Alien, right? Because the dialogue wasn't very good, but the acting and other elements were.
But for me, so the visuals of, and just the element of how you have the only sense of security that these group of men can find in this world where every thought is on display is simply by being with other men like that, while not defensible in any way, is very intriguing to me. that it makes sense that all these guys were brainwashed, because even if there wasn't this manipulative, maniacal mayor that drove them to these crazy acts, the psychology of finding other people like that have the exact same problem, I think is just a kind of a cool starting point. Now, like I said a few times now, the ceiling was so high in this movie and it fell way short of that, but I have to give it props for introducing that in itself. So hard 3 after Earth Effect.
Are you giving it that score based on the fact that they did that in the movie, or the fact that they interpreted the book in a way that made it have that element?
Well, did that in the movie, since I didn't even know it was a book, right?
Well, that's fair. That's a good point. Okay.
So then, do you enjoy the Transformers movies for the visual effects?
Well, the Transformers movies are enjoyable simply because of the kind of
Michael Bay.
Yeah, just kind of the Michael Bay, you don't expect much kind of thing. The problem with the Transformers movies is that it kind of looks impressive, right? But it's really not, because the camera work is so fast that all of the gears and stuff that blur together and all the action scenes are so blurry, right? Because they're like shooting it at 24 frames, but you can't see anything, right? And so it's just this blur of Transformers fighting each other and transforming, and then there's like a pause or some slowdown of the action, and then so you can kind of regain your bearings. So it's like, that doesn't impress me that much, because in each movie they only really spend the effort in maybe one Optimus Prime blow up, right, where you see the like transmission lines changing and whatnot. So they'll spend the time with that, and then everything else is just kind of add some motion blur in there and they'll be convinced, kind of thing. So so
cool. No, that's interesting. I kind of liked your point of view on that. That's unique and deep, shall I say?
Yeah. And now, to be honest, again, because Spenny, you said
it again.
Spenny, you said that it reminded, or what I was, or you mentioned After Earth first, right? I think.
Yeah, I mean, after I saw it, and I was kind of thinking about how would I rate this and how did I feel about it. It was on that level of After Earth, and then I was thinking of those elements of, well, this journey, trying to get across to kind of get to this point where basically they're sending a signal. They're both sending a signal in the movies. Yeah. And so I just had those tied in with those, just a different way, but they both had the same result.
And I when I was watching this, I was so annoyed by having to have the subtitles on that I didn't even think about any of that. And so again, this conversation elevated it for me. So you guys are to blame for the hard 3.
Oh, this is our fault.
Yeah.
That means it was a good.
So you had to focus on the visuals,
right?
Must have been a good conversation.
Yeah. Taylor, let me ask you something. We just had our friend Derek Wooters on. When the episode comes out, this will be more streamlined, but we know that he hasn't seen Severance. Have you seen Severance yet?
Yeah.
And what do you think?
It's outstanding.
Let's go. Let's go.
One of the best series you've ever seen, right?
Let's go.
For sure.
Let's
Hands
go.
Down. Okay, here, Chaos Walking, a lot where you're like questioning everything and trying to think through, piece together. There, Severance, they actually give you that because it's a series in small bits, and like sometimes it's just mind blowing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yes,
awesome.
Severance is amazing. I feel like the visuals, the acting, the writing, it all comes together beautifully.
Yep. It's the best thing I've ever seen. It's like perfection.
It is. It's really good.
So if you don't know, and we haven't talked about this on the show, and I don't know, maybe we'll cut this out, but we do have a Severance special coming out at some point where we talk about season 1. So I think I don't know, it's like a 90-minute episode or something.
Talk about it.
So, but I only asked because we know Wooters hasn't seen it. So I was just curious. If you had watched it and what your thoughts were, because it's hands down the best thing I've ever seen. I really like it.
Yeah.
He said it was the best thing he'd ever seen after one episode. That's right. He said, doesn't matter if the series just fell off a cliff. It would be the greatest episode.
Yeah. Right. I remember you saying that. Or like when there were 2 episodes left or the finale was left, you're like, it doesn't matter what they do. It's still a 10.
It's really good.
Yeah. What one other completely unrelated it would be Invincible. It's a superhero cartoon on Amazon. But there's like swearing and adult themes and gore, so it's not kid. And then The Boys, also on Amazon.
I've seen a couple episodes of that, and I've always meant to go back and watch the rest of it because I hear that it's fantastic. I liked what I saw. Wow. My wife wasn't about it, so we kind of stopped watching it. Yeah. So, but I always meant to go back and watch it. I guess on my own time, but it's been on my list for sure.
Or like
that Invincible one.
When my wife watches The Bachelorette,
there you go.
Something else.
The stuff that I
That's
like.
good. That Invincible one looks like it's got a great cast and it's got some really good reviews. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. It's got a huge comic book universe.
Cool.
Nice.
Or it goes for a ways, at least.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Well, this was
thank you for coming on.
I really appreciate you hopping on with us. And unfortunately, we convinced JAD that apparently the movie's better than it was. I don't know.
Well, what can I say?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. Everybody has their own opinion.
That's right.
That's true. That's right.
I mean, am I ever going to watch that again? No. But that's okay.
Cool.
There's others to watch.
Well, thanks again for coming on. And we have one more in this episode. And
maybe. I mean, these turned out to be a little bit longer than I was expecting. So we might have to figure out something with these.
Well, for the purposes of a transition,
we'll make it work.
We'll cut out the last 3 seconds.
We've got one more.
We've got one more guest, and she's coming up now.
Well, we have Yellow Sweater Jess with us. Perfect name because that's what my daughter calls her. She's a friend of my wife's, and she was one of the first people to give a suggestion on a movie, and we're going to talk about Adam Project tonight, which I have to give a full disclosure that I crammed for this today, and I watched it kind of in between meetings. So hopefully I do okay on it.
I also have a full disclosure. I watched this maybe 2.5 months ago and haven't watched it again and didn't read any notes. And so I'm going to follow you guys' lead on this one. So I'm sorry.
It was really good.
It's going to be good. I watched it like 2.5 weeks ago, and I thought my memory on it was going to be a little bit spotty. So I'm glad I'm not the only one that watched it in the past.
Well, I guess we're going to rely on Spenny then.
Oh, great.
I know, but I was really looking forward to, I was listening to the Alien podcast today, and I was really looking forward to all of the facts that Spenny was going to be able to give us about like production and
it's a
special effects and all that stuff.
It's a Netflix one, so it's kind of harder to get your hands on some of the details, but I will try to add as much as I can in the time that we have.
Perfect.
So this one just came out in March this year, so 2022. And it has cast is awesome. I mean, it's Ryan Reynolds, obviously. and then it's got Jennifer Gardner, Mark Ruffalo, Zoe Saldana, and Catherine Keener. Which the Catherine Keener is the kind of the bad character in this, and all I can think about is the fact that she's from 40-Year-Old Virgin, and that's like all I can think about when she's trying to play this like really bad person, and I can just think of that movie. So that was kind of an adjustment getting used to that character in it. But yeah, this movie was written by one of the writers was T.S. Nolan, and he was one of the main writers for Maze Runner, so the 3 movies that came from Maze Runner. And then he was supposed to do Bright 2, which we reviewed a couple of weeks ago, but turns out there's some things that's been going on with that, and it got canceled, so he's no longer writing it, and Bright 2 is no longer. We were excited to actually review the second one, but that's not coming to fruition anymore. So sorry to break that news to anybody that didn't know that already.
Breaking news. 8 to 10. Dropping news.
Breaking news.
Well, maybe he'll write Adam Project 2. If they're going to make that.
Maybe. I mean, there could be. I don't know.
Did it set up at the end for a sequel? Because I honestly can't remember.
I don't think
No?
so.
Okay.
I mean, time travel went away at the end.
Yeah, they
Spoiler.
killed it.
They killed it.
They canceled time travel.
Unless that was part of the original timeline, in which case they just remake it, and then they remake it in the future anyways, right? So then that's part of the timeline where they go to it's the future, they make time travel, they go back in time, ruin time travel, future, make time travel. So
it's just a continuous loop, is what you're suggesting.
It's plausible. We don't know.
Well, isn't it? I mean, isn't it that movie that has oh shoot, it's the Tom Cruise movie where he just keeps getting killed and keeps coming back.
Oh yeah, Tomorrow Game or something, or Tomorrow
Game,
War.
I've never seen that.
That was a really good.
Yeah, that's actually
I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good movie. Yeah, but it's like repetitive because every time he gets killed, he has to start at the beginning, and go back, and start doing his mission over and over and over and over.
Yep.
But he remembers all of it. So yeah.
And he's the only one that remembers it.
Yeah.
And he has to. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, it's like a Groundhog Day kind of sci-fi Groundhog Day.
The sci-fi take of my sci-fi of of that.
Okay, well, do you want to give a little talk about why you suggested Adam Project, or what about it made you?
Why I personally suggested it?
Yeah.
Well, the real reason behind it was because I knew Kendra was having to watch a lot of these movies with Spencer. And so I wanted to make sure she was watching a movie that she would like really get into and enjoy.
Looking out for a friend. Nice.
And because I was also interested in listening to your guys' take on the Anna Project. I didn't know I'd get invited to talk about it. So that's an added bonus.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I think she's had to suffer through some pretty bad ones, which I think she's either fallen asleep or just given up. So I think every time we try to watch a good one, somehow it doesn't work out that she sits and watches it with me. So, oh well.
Yeah.
Well, so this one, I do have budget on this. So it was 116 million. So it was a pretty big budget regards to movies. Obviously it wasn't in box office, so it was just views, but there were 3 million views on the opening weekend on Netflix, which that's a lot. It's a lot of views on Netflix. So, people liked it. Obviously it's Ryan Reynolds, so that's going to be great, of course. I did read some stuff talking about kind of the story has some personal ties to Ryan Reynolds and then the director himself. Ryan Reynolds was talking about kind of the relationship he had with his dad and just kind of the struggles of growing up. Him as a person he said the character was him growing up. So I have imagined that he was kind of a hard kid to kind of manage. And then, And then the director said that he had such a dysfunctional family that he had this like close connection to the movie of kind of the family dynamics and stuff and the struggle. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Very interesting. So I have a question for both of you. Do you think that you would be, in your current age, do you think that you would be a good parent to yourself from when you were 10 or 12? Would you be nice to yourself or hard on yourself, I guess? Because that's kind of what this movie sets up, right? The older version of himself has to act like his dad. And it's kind of an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, it is. I would say for me personally, I think I would be more understanding because I think I know what he's been through.
Yeah.
I think I would be a different character than what Ryan Reynolds was in this. Because he was trying to toughen him up.
Yeah.
I would say yes, but only in the regards that I was a pretty easy, I would like to think I was a pretty easy child. So like, I wasn't the kid in this movie. I was the kid that was like always afraid of that I was gonna like disappoint people or that I would get in trouble. So like I didn't do things.
I mean, you didn't get suspended 3 times for fighting, or like the kid does in the movie.
I didn't. I can't say that I did.
Fair enough. Yeah. I was the same kind of kid, so that's why I was like, well, I don't think so. I think I'd be a lot more kinder to myself.
Same.
But okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. I think we're all probably similar, low key. Let me read into the synopsis and then we'll get into it and we'll kind of talk about some specific things. And go from there. This is actually a short synopsis because it was hard to kind of bring everything together. So we'll see how this goes. Mm-hmm. After crashing his ship in 2022, time-traveling fighter pilot Adam Reed has to team up with his 12-year-old self to go back in time to help his deceased father and help change the past to secure the future.
Wow. Right to the point.
That was really good insight.
Nice work, as always.
I didn't know. I feel like if you started talking about a bunch of the other elements, it would be very confusing. So they didn't want to make it super long. Mm-hmm. But this movie kind of opens with like it's an action scene of like Ryan Reynolds like running away, being shot at. Their ships are able to create wormholes. So he creates like a wormhole. His ship's damaged. He's been shot. And he's making like a last ditch effort to get away, and he gets through it. And then it kind of flashes back to Adam Reed is like the kid, and he's running away and he gets into a fight. He gets kicked out. And he talks about being suspended 3 times. And he's one of the quotes he said is, "I know you'd think I'd be better at it by now," because he's been in so many fights. That was funny. But I can't get over how cool like this house is that they live. I don't know where it's at necessarily, but
same.
It's amazing.
It's
like
Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've looked that up. It is. They did film in Canada.
Okay. And that was, I mean, it was just so cool. I can't imagine there's really a house like that. I mean, for normal people, like it was just like wall to like floor to ceiling windows. Just looking in your backyard, and that has these, 100-foot trees behind your house. And I was like, that's cool. I wish I had a house like that.
Yeah, it was kind of a contemporary A-frame log house, right? But modern at the same time.
Yep. The inside.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah, it's very neat. And then let's see. How did we do? So mom's going on a date. He's being a little pain in the butt. And then they move to, he's like playing video games, and all of a sudden the power goes out. The dog starts barking. They go into the woods, and all of a sudden, bam, there's Ryan Reynolds sitting on the floor, shot, sitting in his dad's garage. And he's like, "Who the hell are you?" And then it kind of spirals into them kind of talking back and forth. And then the realization that, well, we're the same person. And I don't know, that was just, it was interesting seeing that dynamic, because the characters play off each other so well. Like the Ryan Reynolds and then the younger version, like they have the same demeanor and stuff. I'm like, it has to be very hard to do, but he just does it perfectly. And I thought that was really neat to see.
Yeah, it made me wonder if the child actor was really good at just kind of emulating Ryan Reynolds, shtick, or if it was Ryan Reynolds just being that seasoned of an actor to, play off him, or maybe they met in the middle. But to your point, their dynamic was really convincing. And you really see two characters that don't really like themselves having to deal with themselves physically. And maybe the pitfalls of the older version of himself still not dealing with his own inner demons. Because if you dislike yourself so much that you don't have any compassion for your younger self that doesn't know much and is currently in the middle of some tough situations, then that's some demons that that need to be dealt with. So it's an interesting dynamic to think about, how you would treat your younger self if given the opportunity. It's one of those things. I think if you knew, I think that's why he's so hard, is because he knows what the future's like, just trying to push him to grow up faster, because there's an expectation of that, especially without your dad. I think that's difficult. Well, the thing is that his dad is in the picture, right? I can't remember. They act like the dad isn't alive, right? But the dad just isn't present.
No,
right?
Dad's dead.
No, he's not alive.
Dad's straight up dead.
Yeah.
He died.
Oh, because they went, okay.
Yeah, it's
So
before they
in
time traveled, Jad. Yeah.
Okay, so old Ryan Reynolds goes back in time, and then they go back in time together?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yes.
Carry on. I've forgotten this.
Yeah, but there's just one part in this that was really funny, was they're talking, because Ryan Reynolds this whole time is walking around the house because he's been shot, and they're trying to he's trying to find things to repair him, and he's sitting in the kitchen and he coughs, and he every time he coughs he realizes that his wound makes a fart noise, and he just goes and it farts. And he's like, huh, when I cough it farts. I was like, oh. Only Ryan Reynolds could do something like that and be funny.
Yeah.
But
so Jess, take us through what's next, if you can remember.
So from there, his spaceship is damaged, and he has to wait to be able to get back in it to go to the year that he wants to go to. And in the meantime, I might skip over a bit, but in the meantime, I know they go to get him bandages and stuff like that to help with his wounds, and they run into the kids that are bullying the younger Adam.
Yep.
And he ends up getting into a fight with. I can't remember if he actually fights the kids or if he just verbally threatens them.
Yeah. So Ryan Reynolds is trying to coach up his younger self, and he's basically telling him, "You're gonna stand in the middle, smile at them, and then you're just gonna drop to your knees and punch them in the nuts." and then the kid gets over there, and he just totally messes it up, and he just gets decked right in the face, and then he runs away. And then Ryan Reynolds is like, oh, God, son of a. So he grabs the bully, puts him against the wall, and he says, I'm going to pull out your bones from your body, sharpen them, and then shove them into Chucky over here, which is Chucky's the other friend. It was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then the kid peed his pants and ran away.
Yes, that's it. And so from there, when Ryan Reynolds gets back home, when Adam gets back home, he finds his younger self, Adam, and they're kind of having a heartfelt moment. And then he realizes that the people that he was running away from in the opening scene
Yep.
are there.
Yep.
And so they have to try and make a hightail for it, but they end up fighting. And the best part of that fight scene was when he gets out his the thing that younger Adam had found that he thought was a lightsaber, and he kept telling him it's not a lightsaber. And then he like goes like this, and it opens up, and he goes, "That's totally a lightsaber."
And it is. It's like the double-edged sword from Darth Maul. Like he just starts kicking the crap out of everybody. And there's like all these bad guys, and the best way I can describe them is they look like Master Chief from Halo, but then it meets Cobra from G.I. Joe's. It's like this blend of like two bad guys or two sci-fi characters. But one of the bad guys, while they're fighting, he literally says "ooga booga booga" while they're fighting. Like he just "ooga booga booga" while he just destroys them. And I was just like, what is happening? Oh, it was cool.
Yeah.
But this,
Oh, go ahead.
Oops. And all of a sudden his wife that he thought was dead. So this whole time he thinks his wife died on a mission, and then she shows up and she just kicks the crap out of everybody. And like the whole time, like the big Adam is like, can't believe she's here. And she's just destroying people and shooting people and blowing people up. And he just keeps stopping in front of her like, it's really you.
Isn't that what he goes back in time for? To meet her,
I
right?
think that's an important part that we missed is she went back to a certain year and just never came back from that year. And they said that she didn't quote unquote make the jump, and he doesn't believe it. He thinks that she's still in that year. And so he was going back to that year to find her and ends up in the wrong year.
Yep. Yeah, he was supposed to go back to 2018. And while he was like trying to escape at the beginning, like he put in coordinates, so he got to the right place, but he forgot to check like the time that he had selected. So he was 4 years off, and she was quote like the best in the class. So she was supposed to be the best pilot and best navigator. And he said it just didn't make sense why she would vanish or like her ship would be destroyed because she was the best in the class. So then you learn, when your ship blows up or gets destroyed, you just kind of start living life from whatever point you've time traveled to. So that's where she was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she's just been waiting for him for, I think it was 5 years. They were in 2021.
Yeah.
Is that right? Or no, that's not 5
3 or
years,
4.
3
or 4, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Did she have any reason to suspect that he would come back to that time, that location? Or why was she there? Or why did she show up at that?
I think the location.
Yeah.
So she was just watching her.
She didn't know when he would show up, but she showed up at his childhood home. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she she had a cabin not too far from the house.
Now her whole plan there was to assume that he was going to come after her, right? Had he put in his coordinates to before her, then he'd have to wait for her to show up.
Yep.
It's
true. But this time traveling thing is difficult.
Not like she had much choice, I guess.
It's complicated. There were parts of that scene, the reason why I wanted to rewatch it was because there were parts of that movie where when they were explaining concepts of time travel and like your true time or whatever they called it, that I was just like, this seems really complex. I need to rewatch this so I can actually be in a state of mind where I'm like ready to follow what they're saying and see if I understand what they're trying to say.
That's why we hope JAD has some answers on time travel, because that's usually what it is that he's here for. Because there is a scene kind of earlier in the movie where the younger self is kind of talking about the multiverse and parallel timelines and stuff, because he's trying to understand like how did you get here and how did all this stuff happen.
Yeah. I thought it was funny that he just And basically in the movie, he just said, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's like, we're not going there.
Yeah.
This isn't the point. We're not going to try to address that. And it was a kind of meta way for the writers to just say, we don't know. And we're not going to try. Right. This is enough.
Yeah. But the fight scene that they had when they were fighting all the bad guys, I don't know why, but it kind of brought me back to like when Power Rangers would fight against Putty, because it would kind of be like this fight, and then hit them, and then they'd fall apart. And it just reminded me
with
of
his
Power
staff
Rangers.
thing. His staff made they made them dissolve or something, right?
Oh yeah.
Right, because if you kill them, that self dies, plus whatever self anywhere is just goes away.
Correct.
Gotcha. I thought it was like
something.
a time weapon or something. It made made their atoms disintegrate.
No,
through
I don't think
time
so.
vortex.
I think it was just lasers or something.
Didn't we talk about one of our episodes? We talked about time travel in some way, right?
Well, we watched The Time Machine.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Okay.
Forget.
I've completely forgot. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Okay. Good.
we're not going to revisit
Great.
that. So,
But anyways, they fight those guys. They go back to her cabin, and she like spills out, exactly what we talked about. Like she's crashed and she's been here for 4 years waiting for hopefully someone to come, and she was just going to live out her life.
For them to get to that cabin, though, they had one of the most epic driving scenes. Like, her backing through that forest without, like, that was pretty.
That was epic.
Crazy. I'd love to know the details of shooting that, because that was pretty cool.
That is, yeah. And they're also driving a K5 Blazer, which it's not very maneuverable. I think would roll over. So that's why it was really impressive to see. And the fact that they just kind of like, just the training they must have as being these like pilots and stuff, like the idea of him just having her stop, open the door, knocks out one of the guys, and as reversing, he just uses lightsaber and hits the tree that flies in and kills the other guy. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
But the cabin that they get to, that is beautiful. That's actually what we went to go look up where it was filmed, because it was one of the most picturesque places you could ever think of. And that was definitely
it was right on the water.
At least scene was in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Mountain Lake, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. And that's where there's another funny scene, because the little guy's razzing him again, and he's like, "He's precious, isn't he? Don't you just want to hold him underwater until the bubbles stop?" But yeah, so the whole thing was actually looks like it was all filmed in British Columbia, so that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting.
But they have that scene there, and then the bad guys find them again.
Yep.
And so she has to hold them off. She essentially tells them, you need to go and stop time travel.
Yep.
Like, I'm going to sacrifice myself. So
for the greater
he
good.
stays and fights them by himself while they go back to his ship.
Yeah, and the planes or the jets or whatever they have, like she kills a bunch of people, but then the super bad lady shows up with her jet and blows her up. But it's got those planes that, when they go to super speed, their wings pull back, and then when they go to slow mo, their wings slide forward. I just think that's cool. Cool.
Probably like that because of Top Gun, right? They have
Right.
14 Tomcats who do that.
Yep. Tomcats.
So
Yeah. It was good. But then it goes to a sweet, battle in the canyons. It's just a jet battle.
Yeah.
chasing each other. It's another,
Well,
yeah.
an important part of why, so before they get to that battle, for them to get into the ship, it's all done by his DNA, and it won't let him into the ship if he's not healed.
Right.
And so he has to take the kid with him because the kid has his DNA.
Yep.
And so the kid has to essentially time travel with him. And so that kid gets to be part of that fight scene in the canyon too.
Yeah. And the whole point is they have to travel back because the Atom Project is actually the time machine that their dad developed. And then this evil lady took it over and kind of changed altered the future because she kind of controlled time, which is the most precious thing that there is. And so they have to go back and kind of warn him and figure out a way for them to destroy it. So that's why they're taking him with, because he has to, because there's no other way to do it. But when they get in that scene, like they shut off the engines and then they just free fall, and then they have to hide, and then they get ready to go, and the little like thruster that shoots them into like the wormhole, it looks like a pod racer engine just swirling up from episode 1, and it's just I don't know. It just fires a wormhole, and then you just slide through it. And I wish we had wormholes. When are we gonna have wormholes to shoot through, Jed?
As soon as we can figure out negative energy.
Oh,
negative space.
So
we got that. Negative energy is the kicker. So, yeah, well, let's have to get on that.
Get on that.
Yep.
But it moves back to 2018. They go see Dad. He's giving a lecture in class. I guess he's a professor. But there is a fun little part where there's a person in the front that's wearing a t-shirt and it says John Travolta, but has Nicolas Cage underneath it. And I actually got the reference, but I had to double check to make sure that I wasn't wrong. And it's a reference to Face Off. Yeah.
All right.
It was cool. Yeah. Because they both those actors play each other in that movie. That was cool.
Yeah. So they basically interrupt class, and the dad is this hotshot genius theoretical physicist, and he says, okay, yeah, so time travel does exist. And which, now here's my thing about time travel and why I know it's impossible or suspect it's impossible, because we would have already known by now, in the form of having been visited or space-time rupture or whatever, because it doesn't, once time travel is invented, essentially, it doesn't matter, right? When you are, because you are anywhere, anytime, at all times. And so the fact that we're still kind of around in this linear relationship with time means that we've never figured it out. And so we won't figure it out.
Maybe they have really strict rules around it.
Well, that is possible.
So.
That's definitely possible.
Like, do you ever feel like in the middle of the night you wake up and someone's watching you? Like, maybe it's your time traveling self that's there watching you.
Is that feeling when I feel like someone's in the room, but I can't literally get myself awake, and it's
like
that
open
fear?
your eyes. Yeah.
Oh, that's creepy.
You guys have some scary dreams over there.
Must be those demons we have. We're just trying to,
I guess,
keep them out.
That's your future self trying to work therapy on you guys.
To warn us.
But once they like see their dad, and there's the one of the quotes that he says is just like, "Holy shit, I'm the godfather of time travel," and then it kind of goes into them kind of like, yeah, dad, whatever. and then it cuts to the bad character, the main bad lady. Her name's Maya in this movie, and she has this like back and forth with her old self versus the one that came from the future, and basically trying to tell her to like, you gotta do this, like we gotta kill Adam. And basically the next part is kind of them trying to figure out how they can stop the machine. The dad isn't on board at first, but then there's a scene where he's talking to his wife, and he's talking about how, I don't feel like I'm here enough for you guys. And then she says, well, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be you. Like, you just need to be present. And it like something clicks in his head where he's like, I got to go help my kids, my boys, the two Adams. So there's an epic. Yeah. Go ahead.
And his whole reluctance to shutting down time travel is just to be agnostic about what's happening. Right. Because he doesn't want to interact with them.
Yeah.
So as to mess up, because he's a bit appalled by his sons, both future sons, coming to visit him back, because that violates every temporal law that he would consider to be sacrosanct. And so by interacting with them and helping them in any way would be going against his own scientific codes. And then he realizes, nah, that doesn't matter. Right. So
yeah, put the kids before my scientific values, essentially. Yeah, but then so it moves to they're going to find this kind of reactor thing so they can destroy it, and they go to the company that has it, which is like, I forget what the name of it's called, Soliana or something. But they have an epic battle where the big Adam is fighting with his staff, and the little Adam is flying a drone with a VR hat on and gloves. And they kicking the crap out of him. And then all of a sudden the truck's about to hit the big Adam. And then their dad comes flying in with his Subaru and just destroys the truck, opens the door and hits the big Adam in the head. And they have this big bickering and back and forth about, what are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. And they finally realize, like, the dad's like, well, I'm coming to help you because I'm the only one that knows how to like actually turn off this machine and where it's at. So they go down and
because he knows something. He knows the login, right? He's the only one that knows the username and password, right?
Yeah, like he's the middle-aged Adam was just gonna walk in and be like, well, what do I do now? Go down the stairs.
So basically, they blow it up, right? And at some point, there's some kind of anti-gravity vortex or something. It's sucking them in.
Yeah, so
what happens there?
It's like magnetic.
Oh.
It had to do with the magnetics. Okay. And that's like a big part of that final fight scene, because both Mayas are there. The Maya that present day Maya, and then the future Maya, and future Maya ends up shooting a gun towards them. Yeah. And because there's this magnetic force coming, that bullet changes direction. Yeah. And ends up shooting her younger self. And then that goes back to someone was making the point earlier where when one of them dies, the other one dies. Yeah. And so both of them disappear.
Yeah, and it was, I thought, Jad, I thought you would have some good insight, because I thought maybe it was a giant neodymium magnet or something. Because it was an electromagnetic seal that was compromised, so that it was like this giant tube of glass that had magnets in it, and the second that it like cracked, all of a sudden it turned into like a super magnet and started pulling in everything that was metal. Mm-hmm. And the gun that Maya shoots was a armor piercing rounds. So it had a lot of steel in it. So when it fired, it just recurved and just went straight sideways and killed her younger self.
And for anyone listening, Spenny did just a great callback to last week's episode where Jed told a story about magnets.
Yet again, bringing
just
back
love
the
that
worst
story.
story I've
You guys
ever
are a
told.
comedy sci-fi podcast.
So somehow one of our previous guests brought up the magnet story, or somehow it got brought up. And
I think I've tried to bring it up every time I've talked to somebody.
the worst story I've ever told. It's coming back to haunt me every time.
It sounded smart though. If that helps.
There was
Yeah, I mean, I wondered what you did for a living because I was like, I don't even know what he's talking about.
That story makes it seem like I'm just chilling with magnets all day, and it's far from the truth. I can't emphasize enough how I don't hang out with magnets.
You were talking about an experiment, and like you had controls and that sort of stuff. There were other elements of the story.
Okay. I'm glad that at least seeped through.
See, the control was
the
they were using
cloud.
tape, and they learned that tape didn't work, so then they had to switch
right.
to a magnet. So that
That's
was
right.
the experiment. That's what he spent a whole few days on.
Oh, I'm glad this is coming back. I'm not aware of how glass might contain a magnetic field, unless the glass is somehow has some kind of an electric current running through the glass and like counteracting the magnetic field. But you probably see some wires because I don't think glass is conductive on its own.
I didn't think so.
But who knows?
I didn't even think about that.
Who knows?
Yeah.
So
The only reason I thought of it was because we talked about magnets. But so after that, I mean, it gets really like heartfelt, and it's all about just love and being a family. Yeah, the final scene is them playing. Well, one of the final scenes is them playing catch all together, and then the two atoms kind of transfer back to their original times, and then
or simply
just
cease to exist, right? Because
they just
disappear.
Because
Yeah,
this is an
really-
altered timeline.
right.
I guess when you think about it, though, the younger Adam had to have been affected in some way or have some part of it in his memory, because he, in the beginning, is very, like, he's getting into fights, and he's very, like, talks back to his mom and is just in this, like, headspace where he's just, like, not, you can tell he's acting up and has issues or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when they go to his final scene, instead of him being suspended like he was at the beginning, he's going to school.
Yep.
And so he's not getting in those fights. He's not getting suspended. So either Mark Ruffalo's character somehow changes what he's done in his parenting to like help influence him, or he remembers this and has changed himself.
Yep. Yeah, and it's, I mean, there was a lot of elements like that in the movie. I think we didn't get into all those, but there was a lot of sentimental moments throughout this whole movie that, as a parent, really tugs at your heartstrings. Hoping that you're always worried as a parent you're going to mess your kids up, and you want to do the best for them. So that it's kind of that underlying message of everybody's doing the best they can, and the kids will turn out okay, but also just being appreciative of your parents.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the scene with Ryan Reynolds in the bar with Jennifer Gardner.
Yep.
And like that scene really kind of had me teary-eyed.
Yep. Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, especially you're kind of like telling your mom how much they mean to you and all the things that they're doing, and she thinks you're talking kind of more figuratively, and that was emotional. I might have teared up too. I'm pretty soft these days when it comes to that kind of stuff. So is what it is.
Is what it is. Okay, is it time for scores?
Yeah, I think so.
Jess, do you have a score on the Ascension to 10 scale?
Yeah, no pressure.
Well, so can you help a girl out and give me the Ascension to 10 scale?
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
So
ahead,
this is an 11-point scale crafted by Spenny.
Okay.
Ascension being 0, the worst thing you've ever seen, up to 10
Okay.
being the best thing you've ever seen,
Well,
and or what?
Ascension is not a 0. Ascension's below 0. Remember?
Well, we don't have a 0.
It's 11.
If there was a 0, it'd be a 12-point scale. We've always said this is an 11-point scale. Do we need to change this now?
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. For some reason that tricked me. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. I would give this a solid 9. And
Wow.
so do I give reasoning?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
you can
go
say
for
whatever
it.
you
Do I
want.
give some reasoning behind this?
Yeah.
Okay. So it had Bryan Reynolds. Great. It had humor. It tugged at your heartstrings. I also loved that we got to see Jennifer Gardner and Mark Ruffalo in a movie together again. They famously did the iconic
13 going on
30. And this was their first movie back together again. And then of all else, and this like speaks volume for the movies, is we started watching this at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and that is solidly my bedtime. Like if you start a movie that late, there's no way I'm staying awake. And I stayed awake during the entire movie. I was fully encapsulated. I did not get on my phone once. Like I was in the movie.
Yeah.
So it deserves a 9.
Very nice.
And I think the one thing you have to talk about in this movie is the elements definitely go beyond sci-fi, because I think there is a lot of other elements into it. I think sci-fi is kind of the nutshell that people put it in, but there's a lot more to it. I think it's kind of has a much broader audience, I would say, than most sci-fi.
Yeah.
Because I think
definitely.
it adapts. A lot of people can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Would it help for you to know that so Paramount Pictures actually bought this or got the rights to it back in 2012, and they were trying to get Tom Cruise to do it. So he was the name that was attached to it. But it never took off, and like it never the writer that was doing it just never took off, and then Netflix bought the rights to it, and it finally took off, and they said, we're going to put Ryan Reynolds with it, and they're like, yes, let's do it. So it would have been a totally different movie
really
with Tom Cruise.
Totally different movie. I don't know that it would have been funny.
No.
Like Ryan Reynolds just
Yeah.
like he makes things so funny.
Yep.
Yep.
He is. I mean, he's the one person that like he can use humor in such a different way, and it doesn't even have to be like the jokes that he tells, but it's kind of those facial expressions he makes where he just kind of looks at you like it's just so facial humor is off the charts.
Yeah.
Well, he has. I mean, most of what he does is his inflection, right? The way he delivers a line in that, with that inflection at the end, that adds the humor. Even though, like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be funny. The way he says things is funny.
Yeah. Well, and that's why it was so impressive to see that little kid, because it was kind of that same inflection.
Yeah.
So obviously they had to work a lot together, when they were doing this filming. So I thought that was, really cool.
Okay, Spenny,
All right,
what'd you
Jad.
give it?
Oh, me? Okay. So I definitely like this movie a lot. I thought Ryan Reynolds, like I said, just the unique ability to kind of control that stuff. I did enjoy kind of the tugging on the heartstrings, that extra element to the sci-fi. So I did not expect that as much. I thought it was more just kind of a funny sci-fi movie. So that was surprising. So not complaining about it. So I thought that was nice. I gave it a 6.8. I really liked it. I thought it was good. I think I really enjoyed it. I would say I would watch it again. So it is a good film. I don't know that I would say it is a very good movie, but I don't say it was one of the best movies I've seen, but I liked it a lot. So enjoyable.
That's very interesting because I gave it a 6.9. And for basically the same reasons. It was well done in every aspect. It was, it didn't overreach. It didn't promise too much. It delivered exactly what was, I think, envisioned and written on the page. They got the best people to fulfill that role. And it was a good one.
The one question I have is, since Jennifer Gardner's had kids, does she only play moms now? Because she's played a mom, or she is a mom in a series or in a movie. Like everything I've seen of her in like the last 6 years, she's a mom. So I was just curious. It's not a.
Don't know.
I just think it's interesting. I just
Maybe.
thought it was interesting. She's a mom voice on Llama Llama on Netflix. So I don't.
Oh,
Yeah. Did you didn't know that?
wow.
She's just really good at being a mom. I mean, if you watch her Instagram stories at all, she's pretty much got mom life.
Oh, okay.
down to a T.
Well, there we go. So
Yeah.
that makes sense. Okay.
Very nice.
Good to know. Cool. Jess, do you have a movie that you'd want us to look at some other time in the future? No pressure if you don't have one.
I don't know. I'm not usually a sci-fi person.
Yeah.
I suggested this film because I would actually watch it.
Right.
So, like, the only other films that you're really going to see me sci-fi watching is maybe any of the Star Wars movies or Star Trek movies.
Hell yeah.
Jad loves Star Trek, so
Nice.
okay. Well, I'm sure we're gonna review a Star Trek. I'm sure at some point. Probably pick one of the bad ones, right, Jad?
Okay.
That is impossible to do. So
What is the bad one?
Is it the odd number?
Is
Is that the odd number ones or the even numbers? I always forget. It's like every other one in
What?
the older series. The Star Trek ones?
the original
Okay.
series is, there's 6 of them. Well, 7, but like 6.5, but they're all amazing.
Oh,
So,
of course. Sorry. Talking to the
Yeah.
wrong guy.
Yeah. I don't know what you want over here.
All right. Fair enough.
Well,
Cool.
thank you, Jess, for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, well, that wraps
Alrighty.
up our very first listener special. We want to thank
Yeah.
Woot, Taylor, and Jess for joining us. I think this was a
was a
very
lot of
fun
fun.
episode. Very great format. If you, as a listener, want to be a part of one of these listener specials, all you have to do is just reach out to us at boys@ascension2ten.com and recommend a movie. And we can, once we
Or
get
reach out to us on socials
Yep.
as well.
socials,
So they can reach out to us on Instagram and Twitter.
boys at
with
Ascension to
recommendations.
10. Of course, if you don't want to be on the show, but you still want to recommend a movie, please reach out to us. But yeah, once
Definitely.
we get another 3 recommendations, we'll do this again. I think it was very fun.
Or more.
Or more.
Who knows?
Yep. And yeah, so this was in the middle. This was our second special that we've put out here in quick succession. And we have one more special in the works. That is a season 1 wrap up of the first season of Severance that we recorded several weeks ago. And that one will be out as soon as Bryan finishes watching season 1. If he can put down Wizard of Oz every night,
He's watching every night. Jeez.
he can put down Wizard of Oz in his free time and finish up Severance so that he can edit the episode. That'd be great. So whenever that happens, we'll put that out too.
Yep.
But when we get back to our regularly scheduled programming, we can tease.
Yeah, what are we watching?
We're going to watch Starship Troopers 2.
Oh.
Starship Troopers,
Great.
classic sci-fi movie.
Yeah, actually funny good.
Yeah, fantastic movie. Starship Troopers 2. Well, you'll just have to wait for that episode. So stay tuned.
All right. Look forward to it.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.
Ascension to 10.